What do we really know about Donald Trump? What do we know about his relationship with his wife? What do we know about how much he takes his own decisions? How many of those decisions are foisted on him by his team and perhaps by one Elon Musk? What do we know about the workings of the Trump inner sanctum? We're going to find out in just a second. Welcome to Americast.
Americast from BBC News.
Hello, it's Sarah here in the BBC's Bureau in Washington.
And it's Justin in the worldwide headquarters of Americast in London, England. And we're going to be hearing, Sarah, in just a second from Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff, who has written quite a few books about Donald Trump and about his inner circle, but has just brought out a new one which deals with that kind of crucial period, actually, that seminal period where he was out of everything, it seemed, and clawed his way back first into contention and then, of course, back into the White House.
Yeah, what has, of course, frequently been described as the greatest political comeback in American history, which I think is for once not actually over. Used to be in our titles, didn't it? J.D. Vance shouting that, and that's actually, I think, not an exaggeration from the Trump camp for once. And I mean, it's fascinating. Justin, when you say, he's written several books about Donald Trump, I am sure you have, and many of our Americasters read quite a few books about Donald Trump as well. There must be more than there have been about just about any other American president, bar, I guess, maybe Abe Lincoln. We're kind of absolutely fascinated by, aren't we, by what goes on behind the scenes, what happens behind the mask. Even though he's very open and he's talking to us all the time, we just want to know more and more and more.
Yeah, and we want to know how he rolls, really, don't we? Because there is something so weird about him. There's something disinhibited about Donald Trump that, I don't know, certainly in your own life, you struggle, don't you, to think of people you know who are so disinhibited, who are so kind of wild in what they're willing to do and say, and the risks actually as well that they're willing to take. And what's fascinating about Michael Wolff is that he's got this real access. He's actually had access in the past to Donald Trump himself. I'll ask him when I talk to him in a few seconds' time. We'll ask him about the access that he has at the moment. But in the past, he's had access to the man himself, and certainly still has access to his people. And you get this picture of how it is that this man actually operates, from really kind of weird details about what he likes to eat when he celebrates a success, through to the kind of broader thing of how he governs, how many people get involved in the decision making, and what that kind of process, indeed, if the word process is usable at all when it comes to Donald Trump.
Justin, apologies. I'm going to have to run. There are, geopolitical conflicts around the world that I have to cover for the news, much as I would love to stay and talk to Michael Wolff. I will be listening to this episode with interest as soon as it drops. Good luck.
Yeah, don't rub it in. You have a day job and I don't. But it's a great pleasure to talk to you, and it's going to be a pleasure now to talk to Michael Wolff. So on the line now, Michael Wolff, author of All or Nothing, but author also of several other books about Donald Trump. This is not the first of them by any means. And Michael, well, first of all, hello. Thanks a lot for talking to us.
Of course.
And secondly, why does he keep having you back?
Well, there is the question. I think I've been writing about Donald Trump now for almost 10 years. So I am, I think I am part of the experience. And certainly many people around him have not only become, I would say, quite used to me, but we have become very good friends, in fact. So this is a moment in history that I think that we all share, and their willingness to talk to me is part of is part of the phenomenon of Donald Trump. The people around him are pretty clear-eyed about who he is, what he is, and about the sheer incredible nature of the experience that they've had and that the whole world has had.
It is weird, isn't it? Because on the one hand, they trash your books, and they're trashing this one too, and saying it's all rubbish and all made up and all the rest of it. On the other hand, they're part of them. And they very obviously do talk to you. Nobody is suggesting.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that when 2 weeks ago or so, when the book came out, and Trump posted typical and rather long-winded invective against me. As soon as he posted this, someone in the White House sent me a link, and along with the link was the message, "You're welcome!" exclamation point.
Okay, let's get to the substance of what you're saying. And you write a bit about Melania and this relationship with Melania. I got into some trouble on the podcast some time ago when I suggested that Melania was in some senses a feminist icon, just meaning that she really does do her own thing. And did do, of course, during the election campaign. But you're writing about mainly before the election campaign. And it is fascinating. That relationship is weird, isn't it?
You know, it's a wholly transactional relationship. They don't really live together. They don't really support each other, or they only support each other if the trade is right for one or the other. And so the more interesting thing is how they get away with this, how he gets away with this. And it's just part of the many things that he does get away with.
How does he get away with it? I mean, why? I mean, get away with in the sense of this is not the traditional presidential first lady relationship that is presented to the world, but is there also at a kind of deeper level a kind of subterfuge going on that is relevant? Well,
I think the interesting thing is that it's an open subterfuge, and anyone looking at this, I mean, everybody knows. Once I was talking to a person very close to Trump, and I was trying to figure this out. She has made no campaign appearances, never shows up in a courtroom, doesn't really, seldom is at Mar-a-Lago when he was living there. So was seldom at the White House when he was living there. And I kind of said, well, what's this about? And it was one of those instances. It's like you smack your head and say, well, of course, it's right in front of everybody's nose.
Let's go back to his professional relationships now, but actually still a relationship with women. You write about the woman, the very young woman, who carries the printer that goes onto the golf course with him. Tell us about her and about that thing.
Well, this is a young woman whose name is Natalie Harp. She's 30 years old. Perhaps she's now 31. And she came into the campaign in 2022 as his go fetch it girl, which all politicians have such a person. But then she continued to rise up the ranks. And she did this on the basis of her ability to say always what he wanted to hear, to use this portable printer she carried around to print out things that he wanted to see, a world free of criticism, a world in which his every move and every inclination was confirmed as correct. And it is part of this bubble world he occupies. And one of the ways he's able to do this is surrounding him with people like Natalie Harp, the quintessential yes person. And not just that, she really became the person that he spent the most time with. And to this day, she's outside of the Oval Office. He doesn't go anywhere without her. She is his effective alter ego, except there is no alter there. She is like the at all times the echo of what he wants to hear.
You mentioned the bubble. And I think one of the images we have of Donald Trump, particularly during the election campaign, is that he's willing to kind of go outside the bubble and mix it with people and do contentious interviews and all the rest of it. But what you're saying in the book, and you mentioned this incident, well, it wasn't an incident because he didn't go, but his aides come up with the idea of him going out and socking it to the students at Columbia University. This is the anti-Israeli protests, and that doesn't come to anything. Explain why that is important when it comes to understanding this man.
Well, in that, when his aides went to him, because a lot of other Republican politicians were going to Columbia, and that, it was a good